I have read multiple times the story of how Mercedes-Benz owns the patent on airbags. When they were asked why it is they don't enforce the patent and they let everyone else use it, the engineer replied, "Some things are too good not to share." That's where I'm at today. Rod here at A Better Way to Farm, where we increase yields and improve profits. Guys, I ran across something today. I was looking up some stuff, doing some research, and I ran across a published paper. It's entitled Interaction Between Boron and Other Elements in Plants. And I want to share this with you. I'm not going to be smooth. I don't have it nailed down. It won't be polished. I imagine it will probably become part of this next series of the 12 Days of Nutrients that we'll do in the month of December. And so you can look for it again there. But guys, this is too good not to share. And I wanted to bring it to you today while it's really fresh on my mind when I just found it. So please forgive me if I stumble a couple of times as I'm going back through here, because I've only read through this once. But my goodness, it's amazing what it says. These people have done a lot of studying. The abstract talks about the fact that they know there is a worldwide problem that limits production because of boron-sensitive crops. Now, it talks specifically about things like rape and cotton. But it also has talked about the fact that we know that boron deficiency impacts monocots, it impacts dicots, and actually, we've always pushed boron more towards the corn side, although we've started in the last 2 to 3 years pushing a lot more towards soybeans, and we believe that that is a equal need there for both of those. In recent years, much research has reported that applying boron can also reduce the accumulation of toxic elements such as cadmium and aluminum in plants and alleviate their toxicity symptoms. Guys, this is huge. This is really big. Through the use of fertilizer, we have acquired probably a lot more cadmium in our soil than what we want. That being said, it's in there and it gets into the food chain. We know that aluminum is actually the third highest element in the Earth's surface. That there are 3 things, and the number 31 is aluminum. And we know that we don't need aluminum in growing that crop. We know that it actually creates toxicity. We know that it creates trouble. Aluminum goes into the plant at the expense of other nutrients that we do need. And so consequently, it's going to hurt us when we have too much aluminum in there. And that's one of those things that over the years we've sat around and we've talked about it, in the evenings when we're at our Fundamentals of Agronomy seminar. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do about this? Now, here's something that I didn't know that we could do. Using the proper amounts of boron, having the right amount of boron in the soil will help reduce the amount of aluminum that goes into the plant. We're going to talk about how that is here in a little bit based on what these researchers are saying. But guys, this is really big, and I want you to stay with me here because I think it's going to make some sense to you. It's interesting because boron was identified by Dr. Warrington as an essential trace element for the growth and development of plants through experiments developed in 1923. So we discovered that boron was a necessary element 101 years ago. Over this last century, we have done a lot of research to conduct on how plants absorb and transport boron and how boron is metabolized. Whether boron is an essential mineral element for vascular plants has recently become a controversial topic again, but it is generally recognized by the academic community that boron is an essential mineral element in the life process of plants. We're going to get more into that here in a little bit, but guys, this is going to be something that can really help you. And I want to encourage you. You may want to listen to this 2, 3, 4 times as we try to get into this and talk about it. Boron content varies widely between plants. In general, dicots, especially oilseed rape, cotton, and other crops, have a high demand for boron, and they more easily suffer from boron deficiency symptoms, such as decreased root elongation, dried up floral buds, fewer pods, and low seed or sterility in plant reproductive growth. Guys, this is telling us we've known that a lack of boron will make the soybeans abort flowers. But they're going to talk in here about everything. They're going to talk about rice. They're going to talk about oilseed rape. We're going to talk about cotton. All these things really have a boron need. And if we're not addressing it, we're cheating ourselves. And there's a lot of things, it's a simple thing to get a lot of benefit from just by jumping on this and taking advantage of it. They go on to talk about the fact that there is a relationship, obviously, between all of the nutrients, but specifically they talk about the relationship here between boron and nitrogen, knowing that the influence of boron on nitrogen absorption and distribution vary widely with the in-source. We know that ammonium salt and nitrate are two vital inorganic in-sources. Plants excrete protons while absorbing ammonium salt, and that leads to a reduced pH in the rhizosphere, and boron mainly exists in the form of BOH3 in the rhizosphere. So what this does, the pH of the rhizosphere is increased when the plants absorb nitrate, and the boron in the rhizosphere soil is mainly converted to the BOH-4. If boron is abundant enough in the environment, boron is mostly absorbed by the plants via free diffusion of boric acid. Hence, plants have a lower boron absorption when nitrate serves as the in-source than when ammonium salt is the in-source. So what kind of N we're using determines how much boron we need. And obviously, if we're going to have ammonium out there, that's going to increase the need for boron. That's relevant to those of you who are choosing what form that you want. And make no mistake, we know that corn plant, especially late in the season, desires to have a 50-50 mix of boron and nitrate. Desires to have a 50-50 mix of nitrate and ammonium in, but we also know that that's going to lead to more of a boron need. And so as we look at that, we want to make sure we're addressing that need that we might be creating. There's a relationship between boron and calcium, as we well know, between boron, potassium, magnesium, and sulfur. All of these things influence how much boron goes into the soil, and boron will influence how much of them goes into the plant. And I'm not going to go into all of that today in the interest of time, but I'm hoping on the 12 days of nutrients in December to get back into that. This is a very long abstract, and I'm just giving you the cliff notes or the big highlights of it, because I think it's just important to have this in our head and be thinking about it. And guys, I tell you this because it's not too late. You could do tissue tests today and see if you're short on boron. You could do soil tests today and see if you're short on boron. You guys know we have pounded and pounded and pounded on this. If your soil test says 0.8 or less parts per million, you're needing boron. If your soil test doesn't have a boron test on it, you need a new soil test and a new agronomist. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to be real plain and blunt here, guys. A lot of the agronomists are still running around saying, oh, boron can be toxic. We had an individual just this week reach out to us and say, we have boron toxicity in our soybeans. And he sent us pictures of them, and he had chemical carryover in his soybeans, not boron toxicity, and it didn't look like it. Boron toxicity is going to look very crispy all the way around the leaves. It's going to actually turn brown and die all the way around the leaves. That's what that's going to look like. And I must confess, I've never seen boron toxicity in 32 years. I don't have people put it on where they don't need it, and we do have some guys who have adequate boron. About maybe 4 to 5% of our clients do have adequate boron in part of their fields, not to be confused with all of their fields. And so on those fields, they don't apply. But we have never one time seen it be toxic. They go on to say here that, and this is really big, this is the third point, is the interactions between boron and toxic elements. And I think this is something that has been overlooked that I don't think the industry is talking about, but we need to be shouting from the mountaintops. The application of boron fertilizers to a variety of plants can greatly alleviate the symptoms of aluminum toxicity, such as inhibited growth, blocked photosynthesis, impaired activity of relevant enzymes. Guys, when we have checked that, too much aluminum inhibits root growth. It slows down or blocks photosynthesis, and it messes with the enzymes in our plant. Those are not good things. Those are disruptive to the growth, and they're punishing the yield. This goes on to say it is accepted that boron can not only stabilize the cell wall structure, but can also reduce demethylation of pectin and lower the proportion of negatively charged, and I'm going to butcher this word, carboxycarbonyl groups that can bind aluminum by inhibiting the expression and the activity of pectin bifidobutase. Guys, all of those big words, what are they saying? They're saying that adequate boron is going to make it so aluminum cannot go into the plant. As a result of this, aluminum accumulation in the cell wall and aluminum absorption are reduced, and the toxicity of aluminum is alleviated. Different alleviation mechanisms of aluminum toxicity by boron are observed in different plants. It talks about the fact that it goes on in maize, which we would know as corn. It will eliminate oxidative stress induced by aluminum. According to research on rice, it can regulate the expression of aluminum-related transporter genes, thus contributing to the compartmentalization and detoxification of aluminum into the vacuoles. Guys, the role of boron in alleviating aluminum toxicity in monocot plants was found to be limited in some research. However, these findings have no contradiction to the view that boron can alleviate aluminum toxicity in plants. This is big, guys. It kind of acts as a gatekeeper at the cell wall. And when it gets to the cell wall, somehow it's keeping that aluminum from getting into that cell, which is keeping it from getting into the plant. The publication of such advancements of cadmium on rice has aroused public concern about heavy metal pollution as an environmental issue which poses serious threats to global food security and human health. Guys, let's not forget that I used to assume that we spread poison on our soil, and it was actually, then it was, the solution to pollution was dilution, and so we'd put it out there and it'd be diluted and it'd be fine, and then we'd grow corn or beans or whatever, and we'd pick it up and there'd be less in that, and then we'd feed it to our cattle and there'd be less in that. And actually the way bioaccumulation works is this. Bioaccumulation says we spread that on our soil, the roots take it up and concentrate it in the grain. The grain is fed to the livestock, they concentrate it in the meat, the humans consume the meat, and we concentrate it in our cells. And so being able to keep this cadmium out of the food chain is a good thing. Obviously, number one, we want to stop using any fertilizer that has cadmium in it. However, number two, there are things that we can do here to help. A series of recent studies have demonstrated the application of boron fertilizers can mitigate the cadmium toxicity to crops and reduce the accumulation of cadmium. Compared to the case without boron fertilization, cadmium accumulation in the roots and above ground parts of the rice is reduced by 60% when boron fertilizer is applied. 60%, that's huge, more than half. Further research showed that boron has an influence on components such as pectin in the cell wall, thus promoting the chelation of cadmium by the cell wall, hindering the absorption of cadmium and improving the tolerance of cadmium. Guys, this is a chelator, and it's chelating, it's acting as a chelator to grab onto that cadmium and stop it from coming into that plant. This is big, guys, and I think it's only going to get bigger as time goes on. Hence, the negative correlation between boron accumulation and cadmium accumulation in crops provides a potential approach to the safe production of cadmium-diluted crops. Guys, this is interesting. When I read this, I was like blown away that this was out here. And it was researchers who've actually read a bunch of other research papers, and now it's starting to all come together, and they're realizing that different people, somebody's done it on rice, somebody's done it on cotton, somebody's done it in corn, somebody's done it on oilseed rape. And the fact of the matter is, the work is being done. Guys, we know there's a case for boron. And I know if you're short right now, it can make a difference. You can foliar feed it. You can put it on when you're wide dropping. You can put it on when you side dress. There's only one wrong way to use boron, and that is to apply it in the seed trench. That is wrong. But we want to make sure that we're putting a boron on that will get into the plant, that is readily available, and that product is ready to go when we apply it. Guys, we're going to continue to dig and look and do new research. We're excited about it. Hey, by the way, this is the kind of stuff we're going to talk about at the end of the month. Here at the end of July, we're going to be doing one of our 2-day Fundamentals of Agronomy programs. We're going to be up in central Iowa. We would love for you to go with us. We have many people here who are coming. Just had 2 more people register today. And the fact of the matter is, people are looking for information. As we slide into these times that we want to be judicious with every dollar that we spend, and we want to make sure we're doing it in a way that is appropriate. And when we start learning more and more things like this, and realizing what I have right here on my desk pad in red letters says it is never wrong to do the right thing. Guys, having adequate boron is definitely the right thing, and that's never wrong to have. I hope you found value in what we did. If you happen to be listening to us on a podcast, we appreciate that. We'd ask that you give us a rating and maybe share us with a friend. If you found us on Facebook or TikTok, share us with a friend. Give us a comment. We'd love to talk to you. And by the way, if you'd like to talk about going to the Fundamentals of Agronomy training, drop us a message on the Facebook page. Just type in A Better Way to Farm. You can get us right there. And someone from the team will get a hold of you, and we'll be more than happy to get you registered. And we look really forward to meeting you and about 50 other new friends in central Iowa at the end of the month. We really do hope you're having a better day.